What does it feel like to be 103?
Too old. I was born in 1921, 5th of May.
What was the experience like of being in the war?
I was a prisoner of war for 4 years. On Christmas Day in 1941.
If there's something you wish you could leave the world with, a message, a truth about life, what would that be?
I never was able to show what women need to have, you know. When you're walking around with 4 years with the threat of a bayonet being stuck in your back if you don't do something, I couldn't, I've never been able to.
Today, I'm in New York City, asking one of the world's most accomplished 103-year-olds some of life's deepest questions. This man I'm speaking to was a British soldier turned prisoner of war in World War II, captured by the Japanese and spent 4 years in a Hong Kong prison when he was 18 years old. Now he's 103, still travels, doesn't take medication, and is one of the wisest individuals we are blessed to have with us on this planet. I can absolutely guarantee that this advice will change the way you think about life. So without further ado, let's get into it. How old are you?
103. I was born in 1921, 5th of May. When I go on a cruise, people put my birth down as 2021.
Really?
So when they came up, they said, no, you're underage. I'm only 3 years old. And now I'm going on a cruise and I can't contact their page. Why? Because according to them, I'm only 99, because that's all I can be on their computer. They've only got two
Oh my
digits.
God, you're too old. You can't put your. That's crazy.
Yeah.
What does it feel like to be 103?
Too old. Not to be recommended, I don't think. You know, it has lots of disadvantages. What I feel is that why the hell aren't I doing what I used to be able to do, and I cannot, and that's what I feel. But I feel sometimes that I can do them, and when I do them, I overdo them, so that now the next day I have to pay with resting up and it's just taking it very easy. But my philosophy is that I can keep going as long as I'm active. I don't use a stick.
Yeah, you're still walking.
I still walk as much as I can. It's less than I used to be able to do. But I walked up the hill last night to the restaurant. Part of the exercise is getting dressed. It takes me an hour to put my shoes on.
Yeah, I can imagine. What was it like to turn 100?
What you have to understand is that memory, there comes a time when the memory is like everything else runs down. I mean, birth is a terminal illness, when you think about it.
Birth?
Birth.
How come?
Well, you die in the end. Right. Everybody dies. The in-between, you go through various stages. The latter part is where everything begins to close down.
So a lot of people do not get to 103. Most people don't live even close to that. What have you done in your life that you think has led you to live this long and still be as healthy as you are?
I began working for my living at 14 years of age, with like every other lad in the... And then when the war came, I was a prisoner of war for 4 years, shoveling coal barges, emptying coal barges and lifting pig iron, made my muscles... although the rest of the body was non-existent, my muscles became very powerful. I could do things that I would never have been because my muscles were. And that, I believe, is part of keeping healthy. And I remember being a soldier, always standing upright, chin in, stomach in. We used to march for 10 miles with a 60-pound pack on your back, you know, so so you kept fit. My muscles are still existent after all these years.
Wow.
People generally put it another way. They say, how is it you live so long? Just by living more years, that's all. Otherwise, it's just luck and the accident of birth, the accident of not having accidents, for example.
Right.
The other part of it is always having an interest in life, in whatever these sculptures are mine. This table I built, and the furniture I made myself, and the paintings I've been doing for years.
You were obviously fighting in World War II.
That's right.
What was the experience like of being in the war?
Not good.
You were captured because you became a
I was
prisoner of war?
captured on Christmas Day.
Wow.
In 1941. I was in Hong Kong then, but the British Army. They surrendered Hong Kong to the Japanese, and I became a prisoner. But I've been back to Hong Kong a couple of times just to see where, and nobody remembers where it was. And all those men died there. Thousands of men died, from starvation and very, very diseases that they normally wouldn't get.
Have you made peace with it?
I regard soldiers as soldiers, and the Japanese soldiers were brave men too. They died in their millions.
Yeah.
But they were still men. They're still young men, like as I was. They had all the future before them. They thought, and it was taken away from them.
I mean, you spent 4 years as a prisoner of war, but you fought in the war. What is a lesson that taught you about life?
Oh, it's all part of life. There are some things I can't do, like emotionally. There are gaps in my emotion. I can't have the deep emotions. When I came out, I was a young man of 25 or so. I went in at 18, for 4 years of those was a prisoner. But I came out emotionally different from others. I couldn't... I've never been able to express emotions in the way that young men and young women do. When you're walking around for 4 years with the threat of a bayonet being stuck in your back if you don't do something, you tend to walk around cringed and not let any emotion. If you show anger, then you're for it. So if you show anything else, you'll be for it. And one teaches oneself not to show emotion of any kind, and that is something I regret, because I never was able to show what women need to have, just couldn't do it, and that hurt them, and in retrospect it hurt me, because I felt so late wife. We had a great life. We had 49 years together. I was hoping it'd be longer, but she went before me.
Can you define the word love?
I don't have that. I cured myself of that when I was a prisoner. And that was a defect that these ladies, I'm sure that they were disappointed in that. It was gone. Well, one makes mistakes and has regrets for 100 years. So that's the lesson I learned. There isn't one.
Right.
You go through life, it's an accident. You go through a life full of accidents, and if accidentally you live longer than the others, that's great. If you're interested in life, for many people, living longer than others is a real pain, because it is a pain. It's an agony to go on living. But I love living.
You've seen so many innovations in the world over time. What would you say is the innovation or the addition to the world that changed it the most?
The pill, the sex birth pill of women, gave women and humans, Homo sapiens, a chance to alter the course of evolution. And that is what's changing the world now. Shifted evolution away from even further from its accidental roots. We're now 9 billion of us versus against when I was born. I think there was less than 2 billion or something. And all those people are all consuming at a rate which is using up the world's resources beyond our possibility of replacing them. Too many people eat too much.
Right.
So we provide machinery to make the food, and we do this. It gets better. But in fact, now we've got storms that we can't control. floods and heats and fires and that we can't control, because when it was better, we took advantage of it and bred too fast. In the old days, it was thought that famine and wars were good things in the way it kept the population down to where it should be, you know.
I have my journal here, and I have a question in it that I want to ask you. What is a big goal that you set for yourself when you were younger that you never achieved?
The mores of the day, in my young days, you didn't have goals. So I wanted to be the best at something, like a Michelangelo or something, Da Vinci, you know. But I was quite happy, and I have a general interest in what the world is made of.
How would you recommend somebody navigates life in order to be happy and enjoy what they're doing?
Have a sense of humor to start with. Because the things that don't happen that you hope would happen are laughable. People, even as a prisoner of war, we managed to keep I saw men of 6 feet dying of dysentery, and you know they could smile still. What would they smile about? You know, everybody is supposed to have some kind of finding themselves. You have to be interested, vitally interested in the world and what it's about.
I would say most people are not interested. They're driven by money, or they're driven by external factors.
Yeah.
You're 103. If there's something you wish you could leave the world with, a message, a truth about life, what would that be?
One of the things about humans is that the next generation is never as good as the last one. The ones in the First World War. Horrible. Millions of men slaughtered in that war. And yet we went on, we started another one. Only 30 or 40 years later, we started another one. The effects of the bomb in Hiroshima and Nagasaki were horrendous. As you know, we have thousands of times that power at our discretion, and somebody like Trump, for example, Putin, and that will trigger the end of life as we know it now, and with all our goals and all the things we left behind to make the future generation better.
Do you think that the world will be okay? Do you think people will be okay?
Am I optimistic? Until the last few years, I've always been optimistic about future generations. For example, your generation has a computer compounded. The next generation would have AI. I've always been optimistic about Homo sapiens being able to undo this until Trump, because I believed that honor and honesty, honor and truth were basic human attributes. But I know in the last few years, truth means nothing. It's nothing at all. But Trump's era has made me pessimistic.
If you could go back in time to your 25-year-old self, knowing what you know today, what advice would you give to him?
In my own family, I lost a son at 30 from suicide. And I tell myself, if I only knew what I know today, he wouldn't have been in that. If I knew what I know today, it's useless. It's a futile exercise. One learns every second of the day about one's body, about other people's bodies, and so on. The number of suicides among people is going up exponentially. Our mind is beginning to alter in ways we don't know about, and I have therefore become somewhat pessimistic in my. I don't have. I just wish you well.
To you. Thank you so much.
Oh, a great pleasure.
Thank you so much for watching this video. If you haven't had a chance yet to grab our goal setting journal and not just listen to the advice you hear, but take action on it, click the link in our description to learn more. Thanks again. And as always, it's a mindset. See you next week.